Guys, welcome, welcome. Hi, Alex. Happy to see you guys here.
Grand Rising.
What I can see.
Let me get my volume.
Now that I can get up there. To cover that. How is everybody today? It's very bright in here, which we're not used to.
Where is everybody today?
Guess who has time? Y'all been asking about her. Here she is.
I'm still alive. I'm still kicking.
If you build it, they will come. Right? But that's what they say anyway. See.
See if they come. Hey, Diane's here.
Hey, Diana. How are you feeling today?
Have an infection.
Yeah, we're not doing readings today, baby. We're going to pull our energy of the day. But that's it, because we're doing a coffee talk, which is where we take time to talk about different ways of healing that isn't quite mainstream. Different perspectives that might be helpful.
Or not necessarily, not always that, but we talk about all kinds of different things on Coffee Talks.
Yeah, we talk about all kinds of shit. Hi,
Chats are
Natalie.
good. Yes, they are. Sometimes talking with somebody can give you a completely different perspective on things.
Absolutely. But see, I can't give you a perspective by just talking, even though I try. I do. But what I can do, I mean, I can only talk. But there comes to a time when we have to know when to be active listeners. And we have to know when to not be active listeners. And we have actively listened to a whole lot of bullshit. And we've shut down a whole lot of truth because we've listened to a whole lot of bullshit. Oh. No, we don't join people who I don't know. Sorry. So I don't do collabs with anybody that I don't know. I accidentally hit a wrong button once and ended up with somebody on there I didn't want to deal with.
Simplicity.
Ugh, my main message. My main message right there. Alright, simplicity. Hey, it's sunlight, I can see.
Alright.
Life can sometimes become very complicated. The simplicity card comes when the demands of life start to overwhelm us. It's time to get back to the basics. It's time to take a time out so you have the space to breathe and the quiet to think, which is what this healing center is all about, guys, because that's part of what we understand. You have to have a safe place to do this. And it seems like every time somebody goes to a retreat or something, it's all about money, or it's all about this, or it's all about that. It's never about you. Our healing center is going to be about you. It's time for a full assessment of what is and is not working in your life right now. Are you overfilling your plate with too many tasks and errands? Are you involved in a complicated or emotionally draining relationship? Perhaps you have been working too much or taking too many classes, leaving no spare time for you. The simplicity card comes to ask that you give your life an evaluation. Take the time out you need and start to get clear about what brings you sustenance in your life. While life may never be easy, your life does need to allow for a sense of ease. We can lose our sense of self and our inner connection to spirit when we're overwhelmed with the demands and happenings of the world around us, this is going to be part of what we're talking about today. Spirit is calling you to begin making yourself a priority in your own life. They're asking that you put yourself and those things which help you feel closer to source in front of everything else. How many times did I say, put spirit first, put spirit first, put spirit first? You want answers to your question? You want to see things get out of your way? Put spirit first. When you are in touch with yourself and with source, it helps make life more manageable. It helps you feel steady on your feet, and it aids in you removing those things which do not align with your highest good. It also frees your energy so you have plenty to give to those things which you do choose to keep in your life. It's a good card.
It's a very good card.
Good reminder.
Hi, Aaliyah.
Hi, Aaliyah.
We are on early. We are not doing readings. We are doing a coffee talk.
And this is where we get a chance to stop and not necessarily be the psychic part of us, but y'all come and see us for a reason. And what we're doing here is trying to tackle the issues, especially spiritually, because there's a lot of spiritual beliefs out there that are working against us. Okay?
The sunlight is perfect. I'm so glad you think so. Because I'm over here squinting, trying to see. Because we got like a very solid line.
Yeah, we're seeing, we're like trying here.
And look, our connection to spirit is fantastic. Okay? But in all actuality, we are human. We are souls having a human experience, just like you guys are. The connection to spirit helps our human side, but it doesn't mean that we don't get frustrated and we don't have issues and we don't have things that we have to work through as well.
And as long as we are in an unhealed world, doing unhealed things that we actually think is good, but we'll talk about that too, because why do we think it's good? Because we're so afraid of people judging us. They have all this societal and spiritual crap out there that's actually working against what we're trying to accomplish. But it's so ingrained in us, this programming, that it's kind of hard to break it. So the first thing that we have to do is remove our emotions from the situation. All right? So when I talk about energy, when I talk about this, when I talk about that, if you feel some sort of way about it, just know, maybe I'm talking about you, but I'm not just talking to you because it's an issue all the way across the board, or I wouldn't be here talking about it. Okay? I wouldn't waste my time with it just to pick on one person. That ain't the way I roll. Hi, Kenshan. Welcome. Maybe if Kev shows up, we'll get him on TikTok. Hi, TikTok. Welcome.
Yeah, TikTok is, they're talking a little bit.
They are?
Yep, Ashley said, is this Mother God? And creates skits, says, you Luke Beauty Babe.
She must be talking to you. I'm a hot mess. I'm still here in my freaking jammies. Anyway, so one of the things that we really need to talk about, like, for instance,
I'd be right.
One of the things that really bugged me is this morning I saw a post that says, men's strength is in their ability to do, but women's strength is in her words. So basically and then it was a post about how to be silent. And I'm going, hold the fuck on. Wait a minute. You're saying the power is in the words, and then you're saying shut up. What the hell?
You know what? women all move certain ways.
Mhm.
And we move a lot of the same ways. Okay? So when the relationship starts out, we start out talking. Okay? And then if things get a little frustrating, then we get a little louder with it. We get a little louder, we get a little louder. The silence comes when we feel like we've said so much and asked so much and it hasn't been heard that we just stop talking.
Well, usually if you get to the point, for me, if I'm silent, that's right before I'm walking out the motherfucking door. That's
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Because until then, but see, they say, but silence, what she's doing is she's using words or the lack of words as a weapon or a tool to harm. When she really is angry, emotional, upset. But see, we put so much of a stigma on being angry. Anger's bad. Okay, then love is bad too. Just the truth. Anger isn't bad. Now, if we take it to psychosis and violence, that's bad. It's okay to call that bad. Violence is not okay. In no shape, way, or form is physical violence ever okay.
Kanchan. She said, "True silence comes when we are hurt to our extreme. It's a wrap." That's exactly right, and that's one of the things in the way that women move. They talk first. They
Right.
talk first, and then when they feel like there's no talking left, she's right. When a woman shuts up, and men say this, I have it come across my feeds all the time. Men saying, if your woman is quiet, you've
You're
already
done.
lost her.
You're done. But see, what they were saying is use the silence as a weapon. That's petty.
See, I grew up with the silent treatment.
Mm-hmm. Did it solve anything?
No.
See, that's the thing.
No,
it
it did
doesn't
not.
do anything. It's a petty manipulation. Or it's a trauma response. Those are the two things silence is, and neither one of them are good. But we've been taught, oh, don't get angry, get silent. No, don't get silent. Get real.
Natalie said, I try to never get to the angry stage. I'm a writer. I love my words on paper.
I get that. And I try not to get to the angry stage either. But you know, there's some motherfuckers out there that are just not going to hear.
Sometimes silence is observing. I like it sometimes when I need to.
Well, that's different. You're not using it as a weapon. But when somebody is up there saying use silence as a weapon, use silence as this, the only time silence is okay is when you're going with it. Because in co-creation, the only thing that makes that go is communication. Now, should we be responsible with our communication? Yeah. But don't be a fucking chump. Don't sit there and take disrespect. Don't sit there and take a lot of shit that you don't need. If you can do it without being angry, you're better than I am.
See, Natalie said, yes, I grew up in a silence home too. After my parents fought, the silence set in. My parents, my father, he went straight to silence, and everybody had to walk on eggshells and figure out why he was silent. That's when it was used as a weapon. Because then we had to figure out which one of us had done something wrong and what it was that had been done wrong in order for us to correct the situation.
But keep in mind, you're talking about a man that'll do this.
See, we hadn't even talked about that, Alice.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, considering the source, he's playing out his trauma.
There. That. See, and that's the thing. That's where healing comes in, and you don't realize how broken and how traumatized you are until you get out into the world and you start seeing other people and how they do things.
And then you don't even realize it necessarily. Sometimes it takes, like I said, that explosion.
Patterns. Sometimes it takes patterns and cycles and finally sitting down, because see, we do the same things over and over again, expecting a different result because it's a different person, yet we consistently create the same situations until we actually take the time to look at ourselves and figure out why every single relationship is turning out this way.
And 99% of it is patterns that we're not seeing, that we're actually continuing. If we want to change those patterns and heal that family line, you have to change what you're doing, which means you have to see what you're doing, be able to see what you're doing, and that's the hard part, because we don't really see what we're doing.
Exactly.
Because we're acting off of the trauma. Now, my thing is it was easy for me, because I've always seen trauma as what it is. It's not mine. It's not the person who's trying to give me the trauma either. It's not the person who gave it to them. It's not mine until I claim it.
Good afternoon, Crystal.
And I'm not going to claim somebody else's trauma just because it happened to me. If a bomb goes off over here and are you going to say that's your fault? No. And that's the same kind of thing. We're not seeing trauma for what it is. And so we're taking it, all that pain that doesn't even belong to us inside ourselves, and we're reenacting it every day in traumatizing other people. And then the world sees it as, which Effie made a good point the other day. She made me see something really, really, really good. Because she said, okay, so when you're dealing with somebody, you're dealing with a traumatized child. I don't care how old they are. Right? So how would you treat that traumatized child? And I said, no, Effie. No, you're dealing with two children here. Okay? Whenever you're not just dealing with one. So what you're focusing on is the traumatized child. And you're telling the other child that they're mean for calling out their trauma. Or not putting up with the abuse of their trauma. So, we have two children. We have a traumatized child. We may have a totally innocent child. Now, let's say this scenario. This is what we don't give room for. Okay? We see adults and automatically, they have to be fucked up. They have to be traumatized in some way. They have to be this. They have to be that. We cannot see an adult as a good, balanced human being. We refuse. We will not give adults their goodness.
Okay.
So,
let's back up a little bit.
If you're dealing with two children, and one's a traumatized little brat, are you going to tell the good little kid that they're being mean?
Natalie said, I was a horrible communicator forever. But I've realized until I brought in those types of people, I'm accountable too.
Yes.
That's a big thing, is being held accountable for your actions. Okay? Ida said my father would explode and I would instantly get quiet.
Right.
Crystal, we're not doing readings today. We're having a coffee talk.
Yeah, you guys, coffee talks, we're trying not to pick up the cards. What we're trying to do with coffee talks is give you strength to where you can handle what you're coming to see us for on your own.
Kanchan said, true. People dump their emotions onto everybody they go around. It's awful when parents do to children, knowing full well they don't even have their brain's frontal lobe fully developed. It is. And here's the thing. Those parents, more than likely, don't even realize that they're traumatized.
We're, as parents ourselves, we are taught to teach our children how to become traumatized adults just by what we think is good.
Yep.
Like,
or what we've been told is good.
right. And I was talking like that same lady with the silence. Well, are you going to teach your children to be angry? And I said, if that's what they are, yeah. I would rather them be angry than teach them how to be a lie or to how to manipulate a situation for their desired outcome. When spirit and the energy, the truth of the situation may not be what you want. The truth that spirit hasn't lined up might not go along with your egoic desires for your desired response. But see, that's what emotions are. They're telling us, they're guideposts, they're signs, but we don't understand them.
Well, okay, let's go.
We take them personally. They're an energetic sequence, a messenger. Like if a ghost shows up and tells you, "Hey, bitch, you're fucking it up," are you gonna?
So
I mean,
let's go
same
to
thing.
let's go to anger.
Okay.
Anger, the emotion, is higher on the scale than desire. Okay. This is why we keep saying that your emotions are a guidepost. Okay, because when you get angry, are you angry at the situation? Are you angry at the person? Are you angry at yourself? If you're angry at the person, why are you angry at the person? Why are you angry at the situation?
Do you truly have a right to be angry at that person? Or are you acting off of the I, me response? Or are you truly thinking about the us, we? That's how you can tell if you have a righteous anger or a toxic ego anger. If the only one who wins in this situation is you, then you have to look at it.
Bronwyn 3 said, teach them to be the best them they can be, when you were talking about children. Yes, we as parents, grandparents, etc., what we need to be teaching the children is how to use their emotions as guideposts, which means when they get angry, when they're throwing toys, when they're doing this, we have to acknowledge that they're angry, and then we have to allow them to speak and teach them how to speak and use their words to express themselves.
We have to teach them how to communicate. But quite honestly, I think parents ought to be sat on their ass and they need to sit down and learn how to be authentic and innocent and beautiful from their children.
Which brings me to Christina, when we were talking about the emotions, said the highest is authenticity.
Yes.
And yes, it is. But see, here's the thing. As we're growing up and we're taking all of these traumas on, the thing that we're losing is our authenticity, which makes it that much harder to get to it.
And that's why everybody's walking around with this big hole in their soul, doing everything right, even if you have lots of money. Look at Robin Williams, for fuck's sake.
And the first that in dealing with things, the first thing that I believe is the most important is allowing a person who has been traumatized to actually be heard. And in order to do that, you have to listen. And you have to listen not only to their words, but you have to listen to what they're not saying. Okay? There's so many times that I'm talking to people and they'll say all of these things. And when they get done saying all of those things, I'll come back with, you know what? You're justified in your feeling. And you can see the physical of somebody just heard me. You're justified in the feelings. You may not be justified in the actions that you take because of the feelings, and that's something totally different that you have to address. Okay? So that comes into that whole doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You have to acknowledge the emotion, and then you have to analyze why you're having the emotion.
And quite honestly, if you don't have a right to be that way and you're just being a bitch, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you, you're just being a bitch. You need a backup.
John said, I feel people continue with families because not many people don't have any further plans after a certain age. In that case, even the most unconscious, unhealed people start their families. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. Because as we go through life, we do things, we make changes, etc., etc. And yeah, sometimes we get to a point where I've learned all there is to learn, or I have access to all there is to have access to, and I don't need to make any more changes. That's when the person stops looking at themselves and starts looking at everybody else.
That's
But
when
in
you
that,
know.
but in that, you're not necessarily continuing your healing journey, because
It's a continual thing.
it is.
As long as you're breathing, you're going to have something to heal from, because people are fucking stupid.
They can be.
Yeah. There's always going to be something to heal from, so we're never done. So we have to realize that this is a flow, guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is a flow.
It's a cycle, it's a pattern. It's that Fibonacci spiral, okay? Mm-hmm. If you look at it from overhead, it just looks like a circle. Okay, well, I've got a circle figured out. I'm cool. Why am I still having these same things go on? Let's change the view. And if we look at it from the side, you see that it's a spiral going downwards or going upwards, whichever way you choose to look at it. If you choose to look at it going upwards, then you see how it progresses. And if you look at it going downward, you see the regression in it. Okay? And sometimes you get into a situation where you're kind of looking at it from the middle. Like I've said before, that I'm trying to heal and looking at 6 generations, at almost 6 generations, to heal this trauma, okay? And it basically, it just depends on which aspect you choose to take.
And we don't know where it comes from. We don't know how far back. We'll never find the source of a trauma that is not ours until we accept it as ours. And that's when the shit starts happening. So we have to go back and tell that little girl or little boy or that whatever wounded little child to look at whoever did that mean stuff to them and just call them a big meanie for what they are, and understand that it wasn't even about you. Now, what happens as spiritualists with our idea of healing all this shit? We're just causing more trauma.
But see, here's the thing. You can't heal somebody else.
No.
You can't heal somebody else at all.
But you can stop the beliefs
you can give them all of the tools. All of the tools. Mm-hmm. Even the new ones, even the ones that have not been said yet, you can give them everything. But until they want to look at themselves and start picking through that pile of tools, they're not going to change. They're absolutely not going to change.
Well, that's what I mean. I could sit here and talk all day long about higher levels and higher vibration and higher knowledges, but you're only going to be able to meet me at the level you allow yourself to.
But here's another thing. As you're talking to them, you're planting seeds, okay? And as they come, you may explosion and part ways, but you planted that seed, okay? And then they're going to go into another situation or relationship or friendship or whatever, and they're going to start looking at things a little bit differently. Hey, she said way back that this was a thing.
And now here it is.
Oh my gosh. Here it is.
But see, they're not going to think of any certain person who said that way back. They're going to say, I heard this.
Well, some people, it depends. Yeah. It depends on, on the person, because sometimes you actually know that this person said this, and you're like, oh, hey, so-and-so said something about that a long time ago, and here I go. Or,
and now I heard that.
I heard that. At some point in time, this isn't the first time that I've heard this. Maybe I need to look into it a little bit more. maybe I am the toxic person. Okay? Because, when you get into a situation, there's a whole, and it's going south, there's a whole lot of accusations going on. And I say accusations loosely because it's the emotions. The things may have actually happened, or they may have been perceived to be that way by you, not necessarily the way the other person intended them to be. Okay? So you're going to be like, okay, I've heard this before. Oh shit, I was that awful person. Where do I go from here? Because I don't want to be that awful person. I thought I was, I did.
I thought
It was
I was
taking
right.
it. No, not even necessarily that. Let's take right and wrong out of it.
Yeah.
Because
I thought I was acting consciously.
Right. But what we do is we tend to, depending on the things that we went through as a child, we do things like anticipate somebody else's needs. Okay. So you're doing all these things trying to anticipate somebody else's needs so that they'll be happy. But they're telling you these things. And you're like, but you need this, and you need this, and you need this. Okay. You didn't listen. You listened to respond. You didn't listen to hear. You didn't listen to understand what that person actually needs. Okay? And you have to go within yourself to fix your problems. You see, you have to, the whole understanding of things and the way that we affect others comes from that internal reflection. That internal reflection. Every single one of your emotions, every single one of your actions, it comes from that internal reflection.
And sometimes that internal reflection is trauma. And we have to recognize that.
I was wanting to make Danishes this morning. Alice said, let's do a coffee talk. And I was like, okay. And I fixed my coffee and I put some clothes on. And I was like, how much time do I have? She said, well, I said 12 o'clock. And I looked at the clock and I was like, well, shit, that's not enough to make Danishes. But I really have a taste for Danishes.
It's beautiful out here.
Good. It needs to be. After yesterday was shitty weather. It really was. And I'm so glad that there's sunlight here now, because yesterday it was spitting rain and snowing and all kinds of nasty stuff, and I just said a bad word.
And now it's 50 degrees out there.
Mm-hmm. Natalie, I love that you said that, but be careful with that, because when you say, I've done all my work internally for me, that's about the time that Spirit says, oh, you did. Pap, pap, pap.
Let's see about
Thought so, didn't you? What you going to do about this?
No, we will continuously have work to do.
Yes.
For a greater co-creation.
Yes.
But see, here's the thing about what we're talking about right now. The world is shit. Because we've given away our power to people who have taught us how to believe and how to move and what's acceptable and what's not. Okay? As a society as a whole. Now, these people who are these seed planters.
Everybody's a seed planter one way or another.
Yeah, but the ones who are out there going against that grain, saying, wait a minute, y'all are lying here. Y'all are not seeing what you're doing here. People are not going to like you. And quite honestly, where's change come from? Because we have learned as a society that the only way we're going to freaking change is by...
Time out. Damn, I forgot what I was going to say.
Pain.
And that shift happens when you're very, very small.
Well, they're saying that pain, the only way that we're going to learn anything as an adult is from pain. Okay, so you've been nice. You've said all the nice things. You've done all the nice things. None of it works. Blow the fuck up and walk the fuck out and see if that doesn't change something. So you have to be the bad guy sometimes if you're really into change. You have to not be afraid to have people look at you and say, you're motherfucking crazy. You're angry. You're this, you're that. But they're judging you from what they know. And this is where I say, knowledge isn't always your friend.
So what you're saying, hold on, that's not even about knowledge, Alice.
Well,
what you're saying is that we view the world from the traumas that we have. And what she was just talking about was triggers. Okay? So every time you get triggered,
it shouldn't be your enemy no more.
That's a guidepost.
Oh, yeah.
That's that anger. That's a guidepost. Okay? So as we get triggered, then we have to sit back down and look at ourselves again. Why am I triggered? What happened to me that made me carry this for me to get triggered? Because I don't like this feeling. And a trigger, 9 out of 10, you're angry. Why are you angry? Is it because of the pattern, the cycle, the frustration of not being heard or not feeling heard? Okay? There's a whole lot of reasons that you can become triggered. That when it happens, in order to fix that trigger, again, it's an internal thing. Okay?
Yes.
You have to go within to figure out, why did that behavior upset me so bad? That's that guidepost. Anger is a guidepost. When we lash out and say hateful things and whatnot, that's a trauma response. Okay? Trauma response to something that happened. You may not even know what it was. And you don't necessarily have to know what it was. All you have to do is acknowledge that it happened. Acknowledge that whatever it was wasn't yours. Okay? And then figure out how to bring yourself back to center.
But we really have to quit playing with our traumas. And everybody is playing with their traumas and bringing it back and saying, oh, it's okay, it's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay. It's not even your trauma. I mean, it is your trauma now, but it wasn't because of you. You did nothing to deserve it. And the people that you're triggered on may be doing nothing to deserve it. So in that way, we're carrying on and passing on the trauma by what we believe we're trying to do to help the trauma.
Say this, I said it before, I'll say it again. If you have not done the work, you create situations that are cycles that are similar to every situation you've been in. Because when you grow up in trauma, you learn a specific way to act. Okay? So now this has just come to a Broadway show. You're an actor. Okay?
Nope.
If you want the story to change, okay? Because once that trigger happens and that trauma is resurfaced and relit, you already know how you're going to act, what you're going to do, and how you're going to get out of the situation. Okay? So in order to make that change, you have to acknowledge your role. There we go with that acting again. You have to acknowledge your role. And even if you come across somebody who is healed or healing, okay, you are still going to try to create that situation.
And then you're going to try and traumatize somebody who doesn't have trauma.
But they're trying to serve
and make it their fault. That's what I said. If you have 2 children sitting in front of you, are you going to make, because the good child finally reacted in anger because it's tired of being assaulted by the other child's trauma, are you going to sit there and tell the good child that they're bad for being angry?
Nope.
And,
But you
and
most certainly...
they should consider this person's trauma.
But yes, but no. Okay? Because in that situation, that good child has the ability, especially with an adult that knows what's going on, has the ability to take both of those children and sit them down and say, look, that you did that. Why did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because they're playing it with the toy that I wanted to play with. Okay, so how can you guys do this together? Then it doesn't become about this child is bad and this child is good.
But see,
that
that's where we're at with our emotions.
Right. But it becomes about, in that true healing, it becomes about, okay, look, how can we fix this? You have to acknowledge why you did it. You have to acknowledge why you got upset with it. You guys have to talk about it, and let's talk about it in a guided way in order that you both understand the other person.
Yeah, right. But still, what I'm saying, though, is, are you going to tell that child that she shouldn't be angry and it's mean for her to be angry?
Not at all.
See,
and I'm
that's
also
what we're
not going to
doing.
tell the child.
That's what we're doing as adults, though.
In some ways, yes.
No, in that very way. There are innocent, beautiful adults. Robin Williams was one of them. There are beautiful, heartfelt, open people who are trying their darndest to do nothing but good. All right? That's their intent. That's where their heart space is. That's where their soul space is. And we will not give them that goodness. We think if they are an adult, they have to be fucked up. And let me tell you what you're doing to those good adults. You know what you're doing to those good adults? Because you refuse to see their goodness? Ask Robin Williams. Oh, wait, you can't because he's fucking dead. That's what we're doing.
You know, I watched a video the other day, and it was talking about being awake and the amount of people who suffer from depression in the United States, the amount of people that suffer from depression, the amount of people who have who have a very good understanding of the state of the world. And what they said was that depression is at an all-time high. Wokeness is also at an all-time high.
And not so the weird wokeness. We're talking actual wokeness.
So, I forgot what I was going to say.
Wokeness is at an all-time high.
In that state of being woke, and you understand how messed up the world is, it can actually cause depression because you have an understanding of how messed up things actually are. Okay, so in depression being a symptom, okay,
I think it comes from feeling powerless.
To be able to change it? To be able to change things?
Well, depression, I think, comes from feeling powerless.
Well, there's a whole lot of reasons why people can feel depressed.
Well, right, but when you get down to the root of it, it's feeling powerless. And that's anybody who doesn't understand their own power and their ability to make changes will be in a state of depression. Because they can't. We're not made to can't. We're made to can. We're not made for impossible. We're made for possible. And that will throw you into a state of depression. Like Robin Williams. He was out there being the love and the good, and the only thing everybody, oh, it's Robin Williams. What can I get from you? Hey, make me happy. Make me laugh. Hey, Robin Williams. Hey, Robin Williams. Gimme, gimme. And that's all he felt.
Have you seen the video where talked to Coco?
No.
Coco
Yes.
the gorilla?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen the one where Robin Williams was screaming, angry, and crying?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, there's also that side that he couldn't see. Nobody could see that side of him. Nobody could see how all these wonderfully intended people who are just there for themselves was killing this man. Nobody could see what he was really trying to say. Nobody would listen. Nobody wanted to hear that part. They wanted to hear Robin Williams. Ha ha ha, funny man. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Comes from being in an alcoholic environment. In my case, my father was always picking on me. Depression,
you were powerless.
Depression can come from being in an alcoholic environment. Now you have two choices in being in that. This is on TikTok. Two choices in being in that alcoholic environment. Either one, you can turn into the same person that your father was by becoming an alcoholic as well, and then you're passing that trauma on down in your generational line. Okay, or you can make the conscious decision that, you know what, I do not like the way that my father acted when he was drunk.
Yes, you can.
So therefore, I am not going to take alcohol with me. And in doing that one, you're already breaking that generational trauma because you're choosing not to bring it forward. Okay? It also, alcohol is very addicting. Okay? It is very, very, very addicting. And if you have a family member that is an alcoholic, your chances of getting addicted to it skyrocket. And quite honestly, they've done studies to prove that they can find children who are most likely going to be an alcoholic when they get older based on how they act when they're toddlers.
Natalie brings up a good point. It says it's all about who we let in as well. That's our accountability. Mm-hmm. And you're right, it is. As a matter of fact, we had that talk too. Mm-hmm. Somebody told me, Alice, if you know somebody's this way, why would you give them a chance? And I said, because that's my job. That's your job. That's their job. Because here's the thing. If we do not allow for the possibility of change, and then we know this person is this way, and we don't give them a chance to do something better. Now, you can call, that's what they say, well, you deserved it. You asked for that. No, I fucking didn't. That's fucked up. That number one, somebody comes to give somebody a chance, open heart, I love you, I trust you. You can do this. And then to turn around and see that person as a chump, or, well, it's your own fault, that's fucked up too, because it's not their fault. They're doing exactly what we're supposed to do.
Kanchan made a good point too. Mm-hmm. With that, trauma in most cases is generational for maximum people. We end the cycle when somebody dares to stop passing it on. But yeah, at the end of the child, the person can get trauma from outside.
And that's,
yes. See, here's
you can get trauma as an adult.
Here's where communication is so important. If we're going to fix things, we fix that thing in us. But we still have to, with our children, we still have to address that. Look, this happened. This is why I do things the way that I do. This is what I've changed for you. Okay? Because here's the thing. Say sexual abuse. All right? It's a big one. Okay? It's a big one because there are so many people that are traumatized by sexual abuse. Okay? But here's the thing. Okay? If you grew up in a situation where sexual abuse happened and you vow and don't take your children around your abuser, but you don't say anything about it, you don't say why, this child, your children may end up taking it on anyway
From
because
an outside source.
because they don't understand. Well, they as
They don't
children are
understand.
innocent, but in all of it, see, this is what I'm getting at, is it's overprotection. Sometimes when things happen that we so violently reject, it carries that family trauma on more because we don't
That's a
address
rebound.
it properly. So it happens, you deal with it, you say, I'm nipping it in the bud, I'm not allowing my children to this, this, and this, and this. Okay, well then your children grow up with resentment because why couldn't I go stay all night at Uncle Timmy's house? Or
It's a boomerang. It
yes,
causes the same.
yes. And then they get put
thing.
into a situation that it all happens and yeah, it's the one extreme to the other. Okay.
And that's the way we see things. It's either or. Okay? We look at our emotions and we judge people. Oh, you're angry. That's bad. Oh, you're apathetic. That's bad. Oh, you're in this form of whatever. Oh, that's bad. No, bitches, it is what it is. Okay? Yeah, maybe it has bad results because of the energy. Because the energy sequence is keeping us locked down here where all this bad shit is happening. Which is a symptom of the energy, of the consciousness. If we start looking at this shit as energy and remove ourselves from it, then maybe we'll get some common sense here.
Alice.
Huh.
We can get some understanding, we can get some knowledge, we can get a different perspective. You keep saying common sense. Common sense is not that common.
That's right, it isn't. You know why common sense is not that common? Because we're all complicated with fucked up trauma and ego. And common sense is simple. That's what common sense is. It's simple. And we have lost the ability to see the simple truth because we're so fucked up with our personal truth because of all the symptoms.
Kanchan says, I agree. We see things, people, situations, sometimes us, well, in only two ways, black or white.
There's a whole fucking world in between there.
Yeah, there is. There is a whole world in between black and white because black is the absorption of light. It is all of those colors. And white is the reflection of light, repelling all of those colors.
To a point, yeah. But it's also the incorporation of all of those colors as well as black is. It's just the shade, okay? Truth is, black and white isn't even really colors because it's
what I was gonna say.
Yeah, they're shades, okay? Black and white, gray, whatever. It's all shades. And they you can either bring light on a situation or you can keep it in the dark. It's a shade of the same truth, right? Now we can see anger as bad because everybody says you're only harmed by your anger. Oh yeah? Tell that to somebody back there that I just left it earful to. I'm feeling good. They're probably thinking about their shit. That's bullshit. First of all, we have to see all the untrue things that we're being programmed with, because that don't make any sense. Does anger hurt you? No, anger is a result of the hurt you're feeling.
You just said something that, okay, we're going back to those triggers, okay? We're going back to those triggers, that the ones that force you to look at yourself, okay? Because we do things the way that we do them for a reason, all right? And sometimes when we look at ourselves, we have to figure out that, like, if somebody's going to yell and scream a bunch of stuff at me, I'm not listening because it's a sensory overload. And at that point in time, I'm preserving my peace. and I'm not hearing anything that you're saying. All I'm hearing is you yelling at me, and that's not going to get you anywhere.
Okay, so how is that right?
I didn't say it was right.
Okay, good.
I didn't say that it
Go
was
ahead.
right at all. What I'm saying is that is an internal, again. Why do I do that?
Because that's what we're being taught to do.
Why did I do that? Why did I just shut this person out when they were trying to tell me something? Okay. It was too loud. It wasn't the right words to get my attention in what was being said. Okay. It was a sensory overload. Why do I have a sensory overload? Why when I get so
assaulted?
No.
I mean, in a way,
why
it's a sensory
overload. Why when things get so loud do I shut down? And then, then I have to look, or then I look at other things and why I react the same way with other things as well. Okay. Maybe I have a sensory disorder because, it just opens up a whole new can of, okay, ADHD. ADHD runs in the family. Okay, well, this runs in the family. Well, that runs in the family. Oh, maybe there's some neurodivergent things there that I need to look at. And that's why, my children act a certain way and why I act a certain way. And holy shit, my parents did that. Okay, so now I'm aware, and I'm aware on both sides of things, and then I can make adjustments, adjust where I need to in order to be more aware, in order to not create a situation that I'm going to shut down in. That's those traumas. And that's the internal looking process of being able to stop those cycles. Okay?
See, I'm not going to take somebody that's angry and instantly turn them off because they're angry or they're too loud or they're this or they're that. Now, what they're saying has everything to do with whether or not I close my ears. In other words, what are you bringing? You want to help change things, but you're feeding the problem with what you're saying. And you have to actually explain that. But see, people want to be heard so much, even if what they're trying to explain and validate is that feeling that's out there, or that viewpoint that's out there, or that thing that everybody thinks is okay. And that's actually taking us downhill.
That goes right back into communication. Are we listening to hear what is being said, or are we listening to respond?
Okay, but what I'm saying is once you hear what's being said and you shut it down, you're automatically going to get a response.
Yeah, okay, but if somebody is yelling...
Because it's like, I'm not being heard. What are you saying? What are you saying that's worth being heard here? Where are we going with this? Are we doing something good with what we're talking about here, or are we doing harm? Are we creating a bigger problem with what we're talking about here? Or are we trying to take a high road? And if this is a bigger problem, how do we solve it? Like, we were talking about something the other day, and it was like the spirit of suspicion. When I sit back and I listen to people who have a spirit of suspicion about something, And I hear people do this all the time, and this is a trauma response. Spirit of suspicion is a trauma response. Let me say that again. But if you have somebody there in front of you that has done nothing and been nothing but good to you, has given you no reason to have any kind of suspicion, then you talking about that suspicion just might make other people suspicious too. For no reason. That is a projection. All right? Why would you have suspicion of somebody that's giving you no reason? That's going to make me go, okay, so how you move? How you move? Why is this suspicion here? If they haven't given you a reason to have it. And that's another reason why I will shut that kind of shit down in 2.2 seconds, because you're showing me your cards at that point. Because I don't work off of suspicion. I don't do any kind of maneuvering or shady things. You know, I'm here, this is what I am. I'm going to say what I do and do what I say, and I'm going to expect you to do the same thing. And if you don't, there's a problem. It's just the way it is. But if there's no reason to have that suspicion, where's it coming from? It's certainly not from that person that you're talking about. So where's that suspicion coming from? And see, people don't think about these things either. So sometimes I will shut people down so they don't cut off their nose to spite their face with me. You know? Because that's telling me, okay, you have a suspicious nature then. So either you've been through enough to where this is a natural way of thinking, which is a programming, or you're shady yourself. Otherwise, that wouldn't be there naturally. True? And this is what I'm talking about. People don't understand what they're doing with people who are not traumatized. Does that make sense at all? Suspicion is a demonic thing, okay? It is a demonic thing. If people don't give you a reason for it, don't just shit it out. You don't want it there. Trust me. If people are not giving you a reason to be suspicious, don't shit out the suspicion. Because that's something you got to deal with at that point. Because it isn't them, it's you. Does that make sense? Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. They're trying to serve you up all your lessons at once. I'm sorry to hear that, Ida. It's getting to crunch time, okay? Look around the world. We're taking our kids' pieces and parts and throwing them in scrap buckets and thinking it's good, and we're doing all kinds of stuff, so...
That color doesn't work.
So we're pulling all kinds of energies.
Well, and sometimes you get put into situations where all of the triggers, or you feel like all of the triggers are coming out. That one's better. I can at least read the names.
You try not to figure out people's motives. Well, that's good in a way, but that's also bad in a way. I mean, I trust my intuition. I do. But sometimes because of past examples, and this is what I'm talking about too, because you can't do what I do. Like I said, you can't be that vulnerable person if you're living in, if you don't think, I mean, you have to see the world of possibilities and make your call. All right? Like, you may know somebody who is a good person at heart, but they do some shady things here and there.
You just said, how about call constantly, message constantly from a random email address, and a woman choosing to harass me, I delete her, and then she comes back again, and everything starts all over.
Yeah, block her ass. Bye. Yeah, there's no getting to me. I will block her 10 ways from Sunday. Like I said, when I blocked Michael, I thought I had him totally blocked. Came in through Google Pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the hell?
I definitely trust my intuitions. See, and that goes to that connection with spirit in order to be able to trust your intuition, because a lot of times people are so far traumatized that they have no connection to spirit, and they, even though they're getting the signs and whatnot, they're still working from that traumatization, and they keep sabotaging themselves because they're not listening to their intuition.
Right.
I believe in a different way with different people. I'm adapted.
Well, that's what, everybody's different. That's why there should be no hard rules, guys. All these rules. Oh, be silent. Oh, do this. Oh, do that. Oh, well, what's wrong with you that you're drawing all these people? Well, it could be something right with you. Maybe you're drawing people because they feel that you're a healer and they need healed. That'll draw them. Doesn't mean there's something fucking wrong with you. And I hate that. I hate that about people, because it's like, even on an energetic sense, they say, oh, energy works like this. Like attracts like. No, it doesn't. Not on a physical level. Like attracts like in the divine matrix on a quantum physics level, but that's a different destiny. When we're here sitting together and you say like attract likes, I'm going to tell you, go over there and get 2 magnets and you try and put the positive sides together and see what happens. Boing! That's what I mean, common sense. This is common sense. We know this, but everybody like attract like. No.
And Sean said, people in the Matrix are not able to connect to spirit, so they're consumed by this society system.
See,
system doesn't give time to workers, employees to heal.
Here's the thing, Kanchan. We're already part of the divine matrix. We have to choose, literally choose, to be locked into this physical matrix. Okay? We have to be choosing that. Just like people who choose spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things that pisses me off. Oh, I'm a chosen one. Congratulations. Show me. Because let me tell you something about chosen ones. If you see yourself as chosen, you don't get it. You're not a chosen one. It's not God put you over here separate and said, oh, you're special. No, God doesn't see us that way. God put you over here and gave you the same thing He gave every other person in this world. The ability. He gave you the ability. The chosen ones who are that close to spirit is simply because they've chosen to be. They have chosen to put spirit first. So, the chosen ones, yeah, it's because they've chosen. And it's not an easy path to walk. So anybody is out there being proud of, oh, I'm a chosen one. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm that. Fuck them. Because it's not anything that's easy. And that's one of the things that, yeah, I'm in the groups. I'm in the chosen groups. And I tell them all the time the same thing. You're so full of yourself and egotistical. Okay? Number one, nothing is possible without spirit. It's not that I'm sitting here and I'm oh so smart. I'm a high school graduate that slept through most of high school. I ain't that smart. But I can talk to PhDs in religion, and I can talk to PhDs in psychology, which some of them listen, Some of them don't. I can talk to PhDs in freaking quantum physics. Now, can I do the math? No, but I don't fucking need to. I don't have to do the math to understand what it's proving. I'll leave that to the real brainiacs. And how the divine matrix and the physical matrix can work together if we let it. And our job is to bring the truth of the divine here to create this matrix. But what they've done is they've taken the truth of the divine away and says, you're not worthy. And they put the divine way up here on a pedestal. Wait a minute, bitch. Who are you to tell me I'm not worthy? I think God decided that when he put that little piece of him inside of me and sent me on a mission for his purpose, not for mine. And that's how you can tell when you're chosen. You know that you are here for a bigger purpose than you. It isn't about you, but it's also about you. So anybody out there trying to put them on a different level than you, and you guys know all the time, every time, oh, you're so wise, you're so this, you're so that. No, I'm just a mouthpiece for something truly amazing. And we're all the same in that. We all have the ability to do this. I'm no different than you are. I'm no more amazing than you are. I'm no more wise than you are. I'm no more an ability to be a healer than you are. It's a choice. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, my sister once, oh man, okay, I don't get along with my sister. Talk about being raised in a narcissistic society, I'm not even gonna. But one time when we were having an argument, my sister looked at me and says, well, you think you're so much better than me, don't you? And I said, just the fact that you said that, I know I am. Because you just made it a competition. And only somebody who thinks yes, I do, as a matter of fact. That's what I was talking about. Everybody wants to use that word. Oh, it's trauma response. It's a trauma response. No, bitch, I'm just pissed because of the situation. Just because I'm angry doesn't mean I'm traumatized. I have a right to be angry. If somebody comes up and is either taking their trauma and not, shitting it all over me, and I don't deserve that. I don't. Nobody deserves that. So you're trying to traumatize me and you don't want me to get angry? Yeah, well, that ain't happening. Sorry. I ain't that kind of spirit. I'm a human. I'm also spirit. But I have every right to get angry when somebody disrespects me. That should be expected. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, the word trauma is used too much. And everybody wants, especially the traumatized, wants everybody to be traumatized. Because then they have an excuse. If there is healed people out there, guess what? They don't have an excuse anymore. Oh, wait a minute. There is people out there who can actually be good and be this and be that. So what are people who lie, cheat, and steal going to do? They're going to try and make you into a liar, a cheater, and a stealer. Somehow, some way, some shape, some form. So they can feel better about themselves. Regardless whether what you are or not. It is an excuse. And that's what I'm saying. Trauma itself, we have to see it for what it is. It's not yours. Quit being selfish. Give it back.
I think the understanding of the word trauma is where it is being misused.
Well, she's saying it's being overused, and it is, because there's not an true understanding of a true trauma response compared to an anger over the situation at hand, or disrespect, or being viciously attacked by somebody else's trauma, or which also happens just because you're real. Like I said, that's what I was saying. Your goodness, if like you're a really good person and somebody knows that they're not that good, like this is what I think bugged Michael so much, because I was talking about the sex and how it's gotten us to where we are now with the child pornography and throwing scraps and pieces. It all started back here with the idea of free love and free sex. Well, he didn't want to take his responsibility, so he had to make me into a whore to make himself feel better about who he was. That helps his brain make it okay for what he did. It had nothing to do with me, and that's a trauma response. It had nothing to do with the truth that I was speaking. And the truth is, lust. Everybody's so into the lust. Ain't hurt nobody, ain't hurt nobody. That's the exact same vibration that is assaulting children. The exact same vibration.
The best part about trauma is it teaches us that even if we don't attack somebody, somebody can attack me. So I gotta keep myself protected. Exactly. That's what I mean. If something happened when you were 10 and you're now 50, what have you done for the last 40 years to change the first 10? Exactly. But if it happened when you were 10, you lashed out in some way, shape, or form. You let people know that things were not correct, that something had happened. It became a trauma because nobody acknowledged why you were doing the things that you were doing. Something bad happened to you is just that trauma is you carry forever. If you choose to. If you choose to. See, here's the thing. If we don't understand and use our emotions for the guideposts that they are for us to be able to look at situations, we end up hurting ourselves more. Because if you were abused when you were 10, you take it, you can always go two ways with it. You can either let it consume you, or you can acknowledge that it happened, that it's not you. It either becomes you or you reject it. And that is in everything that happens to us. Did it happen to us, or did it happen for us? And how are we going to move with it now that it's been presented to us? Okay, so if it happened when you were 10, you may have lashed out and somebody did not understand why you were lashing out. Because you were a child, it was the adult's responsibility to figure out why you were acting the way that you were acting, because you may not necessarily have the way to put it into words, or you may have been bullied along with it. Okay. And if it wasn't addressed when you were 10, when you started lashing out, your 11th birthday comes, your 12th birthday comes, your 15th birthday comes, your 20th birthday comes.
And you're still nowhere.
You're still 10 because this trauma, this thing that happened, has not been addressed. In order to address it, you have to live through it again and have somebody actually hear you and tell you that you don't deserve it. It was wrong, and it's not yours to carry. You don't have to take it with you.
That's like lust itself is actually a trauma response. People don't understand that. Did you know that?
There's a lot of things that are trauma responses. A lot of things that are trauma responses that we don't even think are trauma responses. Okay, when a woman is caught in her masculine energy, because we have a balance.
That's a trauma response.
We have a balance of masculine and feminine energy within us. Okay, sometimes we need to apply the masculine energy, which is the more logical, which is the more
go get it.
Yes,
get it done.
Okay,
Driving.
And sometimes we get into situations where somebody says, "Hey, let's do this together." And the person who is caught in their masculine energy will wait until they'll say, yeah, we should do it together. We should do it together. And then they'll wait. And when the other person is like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to do it now. Then the other person will go do what it was. And well, it was just easier for me to get it done. Okay. So as much as you're talking about we and us, you're really moving by yourself because you're in your masculine energy and you're not in balance within yourself.
Well, then there's also with that a limit to waiting, because there is such a thing as procrastination.
Right.
Which is also a trauma response.
Right.
So there's a difference between waiting
and just not wanting to do it with that person.
No.
No.
See, here's the thing with the waiting thing. Everybody says, oh, this is my timeline, that's your timeline. Okay, that needs to be like right up front.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but it doesn't, that doesn't go with, it's a completely different topic than being caught in your masculine energy and doing things yourself and not allowing for people to help.
But you're going to be put in your masculine energy if somebody says, yeah, we want to do it together, and then they never get off their ass. You're going to be put in your masculine energy by somebody who is procrastinating. So procrastination, that whole idea of waiting, okay, I get it. But if you wait too long when somebody has something that they have to get done,
mm-hmm.
They're not going to wait. They're not going to wait. And you have no right to ask them to wait.
And the person, that goes two ways.
Yeah.
That goes two ways, because when you say, I'm here right now, I have time, let's go do this. And then the person who is caught in their masculine energy says, oh, well, we can do it later. So the person who said, I'm right here right now, let's do this because it's not going to take very long and I have time. And the other person says, oh, well, we can do it later. And that person goes and does something else. And when they come back, the person who said, wait, we can do it later, has already gone and done it because it was just easier for them to do it by themselves.
Yeah, sometimes that happens too.
Yeah. What do you think the person who said, I'm here now, let's do it together, feels like when that happens?
Well,
because that's a chain reaction and it's trauma responses. It's triggers. Because more than likely that person is going to be like, you know what? This person is consistently doing this. That means that they what they're going to take it as is that person wants this stuff done, but they really don't want you to do it with them. They want to do it by themselves. So therefore they must be wanting to move by themselves completely.
Then people, I mean, you could be ready for 3 hours for somebody to show up, mm-hmm. and then you start doing something else and somebody will say, okay, I'm ready right now, let's go.
That's irritating as heck, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And people have a habit of that too. So again, it's a situation. It's a situation.
Once you're an adult, take care of you now. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, the example of the age. That's all we're doing is we're using examples mm-hmm. from our experiences or from other people's experiences to bring up the issues and some of the things that we see that is an ongoing cycle, and how we as spiritualists sometimes can unknowingly, with what we believe and what we've been taught,
or with the own things that we haven't healed,
right,
okay,
we are not progressing. As a matter of fact, we're going backwards. But yet nobody wants to do anything different because they're afraid of the world seeing them as wrong. Because the whole world is on this bandwagon, and
then
here
that goes into 100 failures and 1 success. 100 failures just taught you 100 different ways not to do something.
Exactly, but that's a mindset. Okay. Some people, you get 1 failure and that's enough. I'm done. That's when you're a failure.
That's when it goes to that choice. Where did she say it? It's a choice. It is a choice. It's always a choice.
That's what I'm trying to get at too. Everything you do is a choice. What choice are you going to make? Are you going to make it for I, me? Or are you going to see the whole situation and do it for us, we?
Natalie has untaught herself so many things, yes. But that comes with a period of isolation. More often than not, it comes with a period of isolation. And that point in time,
a safe isolation.
That point in time where spirit sits you on your ass and hands you every single trigger that you have,
which Ida was just talking about,
all at once or consecutively, it sucks because it can humble you in so many ways, and it can make you feel like you're a failure, even though everything that you have done, you thought you were doing for good. That's when you figure out that
what you've been told is wrong.
You were the toxic one.
Either that, or you figure out that society is actually the toxic one.
Natalie said, I love isolating. I know when I have to isolate. Yeah, now you do. But there was a point in time, more than likely, that spirit sat you on your ass and you had to look at yourself. Okay? And here's the thing, all right? We start out, we take on all of these traumas, whether we willingly accept them or unwillingly accept them, okay? We take all these things that have happened to us on, okay? And then, all of a sudden, when we don't learn the lesson, the environment consistently gets worse until we finally figure out what spirit is telling us, okay? So, we go from this relationship to that relationship to this relationship to that relationship, and this one was verbally abusive, this one was mentally abusive, this one was physically abusive. Okay, that one. After that one, you sit on your ass and you're like, okay, why does this keep happening, and why is it getting worse? And then you can, and then you realize, or start realizing, your toxic traits and how you need to move differently in order to get what you actually want. And then that point is when you actually start actively co-creating and letting things come naturally and start moving in units with everyone around you. And those who don't and haven't done their healing to be on the same level as you, that's when you start moving kind of away from those people. It's not necessarily that they're going to stay gone. They may catch up, but
they may catch up, but this is where, you have the choice to be vulnerable. And you have
that. Let's talk about vulnerable for a little bit, because a woman who is caught in her masculine energy, in order for her to truly be vulnerable, it takes a lot to get them to a point where they will actually open up about themselves, especially if the things that they say are weaponized against them later.
See, I don't even care about that. Okay, here's the knife to stab me with. And this is where people say I'm a fool. And you can call it what you will, but I see pain for what it is. It's a guidepost, a messenger. So, I'm going to give you this knife. That's me being vulnerable. And I'm going to trust you to be the bigger person and not use it against me. So, is it my fault that I trust you? Isn't that what we're supposed to do as human beings? Does that make sense? I'm getting only YouTube over here.
I don't necessarily think anybody's talking on Facebook.
Oh, it says one viewer. We have one viewer. How you doing over here on TikTok, guys? I don't know, Hilda. This is Coffee Talk. We do psychic readings when it says we're doing free readings. When we're doing Coffee Talk, we're talking about the reasons why you have to come see us for your answers and how you can get your own, how we can work through the stuff that doesn't allow you to trust yourself and trust some complete stranger instead. And I also want to talk about some of these psychics out there because not everybody is good. A lot of people out there do not have your best interests at heart. They're going to take your money. They're going to give you what you need to go and come back some more. They're going to tell you and teach you how to become dependent on them. All right, bye, Ida. Good luck to you, honey. Anyway, and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's people who are so attached to their trauma that they cannot accept people actually trying to help them. They see us as dangerous. There's a lot of people out there that are dependent on their trauma. They get paid for it. If they don't have it, they don't get paid. There's a lot of situations out there. A lot of beliefs, a lot of situations, a lot of things where we are being guided into trauma because traumatized people are easily controlled.
Fear is a big control mechanism.
Huge one.
And that goes right back to Monsters, Inc.
Well, here we go with she feels like we're a danger. When the truth becomes a danger to you, there's a bigger problem. And that's not something a psychic can handle, guys. Okay? Don't come to psychics for I mean, if you're in a spot where, how can I put this? Dawn and I are not doctors. Now, we do have perspectives. And there are people out there that need psychological assistance. But then there's other people out there who are going through a world of hurt. They have a hole in their soul and they don't know how to fill it, even though they have everything in the world. They're still not happy. Those are the people we're talking to. Okay? people who want to and can and have the ability to understand and heal themselves. But some people have become so dependent on it that that's who they identify themselves with, is that trauma. That's when truth isn't going to work, because your truth is going to sound like a lie and a danger to somebody who is in that state.
So how come the YouTube comments are?
I do know.
So, Natalie, can you make a comment, please?
Do you mind? Or Kenchan, or somebody on YouTube. Now, it's funny that Ida says that, because I've given many years of my life to this lady. And I've actually pulled back from her because she refuses to heal. And there's people out there like you who I can help. And the perspective does. Yeah, it's not up there. The perspective does do something to help you heal. But there's some people who that's all they know is their trauma. And they do need psychologists. Okay? But yeah, basically what she did was negate a bunch of years of our lives trying to help her because we're not telling her what she wants to hear. And that's not okay. See if I refresh this. How you doing there on TikTok, guys? Is anybody still with us?
We've got one person with us.
Aw. Has that come back up yet?
Nope.
See, it did that yesterday. But that's what I'm talking about. Some people, you can give them all the love and trust and ability and whatever you have, and it won't matter. Whatever happened to pink? I want pink back. Or purple. But yeah, with some people, it doesn't matter what solution you give them, it's not going to be good enough. And if there are no solutions, that's when you have to walk away. This is crazy. Ah, all I had to do was get into something else, huh? There we go. Finally. I gotta get a new streaming thing. Huh. All right. I don't know what to say. I don't think we're gonna get YouTube up there for some reason. It's being stupid. But guys, Coffee Talk is about us talking about why you're coming to us instead of trusting yourself. Because that's a trauma response. You're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting the spirit within you. That's a trauma response. Okay? And quite honestly, we operate a lot from trauma responses as a general every single day. And we don't even realize that that's what we're doing. We're operating from their programming and not the programming that Spirit gave us to be. And that's where this comes in, okay? We're supposed to be here to take that little piece of Spirit that it gave us and come give it to the world. We're not supposed to allow the world to program us and tell us who we are. Or we're supposed to be for their comfort or that comfort or this comfort. Spirit first. We're here to do that job for Spirit first. And once we set our goals in our minds on that thing, it's amazing how quickly and easily everything else can fall away if it needs to. People, places, things is all temporary. We came into this life with our body as a temple to the Spirit, and that's it. And that is the same two things we're going to leave with. If there is anything you should honor in this world, it's that Spirit. Because it's going to be with you all your life, and it's going to be the only thing that will never leave you. All that shit you're so attached to that you're out there working for, guess what? Can be gone like that.
That's right.
And you don't even have to do anything bad to do it. All those people that you're so attached to can be gone like that. And it's not your fault. You don't even have to do anything bad for that to happen. So why are we putting our success or our idea of failures on how people think, feel, act, on what things we have? I mean, if you want to measure somebody's success, don't look at them right here, right now. Because I guarantee you, I may not have a pot to piss in right now, but I have gained and lost more in my lifetime than most people could ever dream about. Now, that stuff didn't come from me sitting on my ass and taking it from other people. No, that came from me working for it. Now, have other people sat on their ass and taken from my work? Yeah, that's why I don't have a pot to piss in. Because I'm too damn talented. But see, that's me saying, look, I love and trust you. I'm being vulnerable. That's me being that chump. And everybody wants to say, oh, you're the bad person. You should have known better. No, that's fucked up thinking. Okay, so you get a free pass for being bad because you're traumatized. So everybody wants to feel bad for you and tell whoever you're traumatizing that they're mean because they're not letting you be like this traumatizer. And yeah, it's backwards. Let's just say it's backwards. Hello. So, part of,
Tina, I feel you. I'm always the bad one, too.
not always, I'm always the bad one. I don't care who you are.
Well, I guess
I'm always the bad one.
I guess if we're all always bad, then the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and it's always being taken as being bad.
Well, here's the thing. I believe hell could be fun here and there.
Now we got to go into that joke about the politician.
Yes, tell that joke about the politician. It's wonderful. But guys, we can lose everything. Don't lose yourself. That's my point. Okay?
Exactly.
You are a success. Go ahead. Joke about the politician. This is so good. I love this one.
Okay, so this politician dies, and he goes to heaven, and St. Peter's at the gate, and he says, you get to choose. You get to choose where you go, if you go to heaven or if you go to hell. It's your choice. Politician says, okay. So he opens the gate. The politician goes into heaven, and it's pretty boring, everybody's, stable, and they're just doing their thing and whatnot. And then he spends his 24 hours there, and then St. Peter says, okay, now you're going to hell. He gets to hell, and there's hotels and parties and drinking, and everybody's having a really good time and whatnot. Spends his 24 hours there having fun. Goes back to heaven, and St. Peter says, okay, where do you want to go? Politician says, well, I think hell's a lot of fun. I think that's where I'm going to go. He gets back to hell, and there's fire and brimstone and people screaming in agony and whatnot. And the politician says, hey, what happened? What happened here? Yesterday there was all kinds of parties and fun to be had, etc., etc. Devil looks at him and says, yesterday we were campaigning. Today you voted.
Isn't that great? I love that. And yeah, Tina, we're not always bad, but we're not always good either. But here's the thing. That's I'll be the bad guy. And that's one of the points I brought up too yesterday. I bring it up a lot. Sometimes it takes that explosion to put out a fire. Sometimes it takes that pain to bring that change because love isn't doing it. You can be nice, you can be good, you could be whatever, whatever, whatever for years and years trying to take that high road and get nowhere.
Well, it all comes in the balance of things.
But one time of true, honest, boom, anger, call that fucking cracking. And you're going to get somebody's attention. And that's why they don't want you to get angry. Because right now, since we're not learning from love, that is the only force that is really gonna change anything. So don't be afraid to be the bad guy if you gotta be. Fuck what everybody thinks. And that's the problem we have too. We're so worried about how we're gonna look to everybody else. It's fucking crazy out there. That we're too afraid to be the change. Quite a conundrum, hey. And this is what I'm saying. We don't know where all this started, but we can end it. And the way we end it is to see the energy as it's carried on. It's an evil older than time called Wetiko. Wetiko. Look it up. There is ancient wisdom there. And once you see it, once you start seeing it, you're free of it. Now, even though you're free of it, doesn't mean the person sitting next to you is free of it. Or the person over there is free of it. Or it doesn't mean you're not going to still have to deal with.
She said, I don't get angry, I get even silent. See, there's that silence again.
Yeah, see, that silence is not good, though, Tina. I would rather somebody get angry and get in my face and be real so we can deal with the truth of it than to try and be silent and silently manipulate me for their end response or to silently punish me. That's a trauma response. And that's what I'm saying. We just had a whole segment about silence and what it actually does to us. Because usually when people go silent, they're doing something hinky. They're doing something hinky.
Not necessarily. They go silent when they think they're not being heard. Sometimes it can be because they're doing something hinky. Sometimes it's because they feel like they're not being heard. That whole thing, when we're talking about a woman and how they move, and that thing that you were on, that post that you were on, it's not always about doing something hinky. Sometimes it's about, hey, I've said this 5,000 times and somebody hasn't listened, so therefore there's no need for me to say it again.
And if you have said it 5,000 times, have you not learned that with that silence, you need to be walking out the goddamn door?
Absolutely.
But why are you not being heard? Is it because of that, like the dickhead saying, oh yeah, well, a lot of people say a lot of words, but that's all they are is words and they don't mean anything. Okay. So do your words not mean anything either? Do you want people to see you that way? Again.
She said, I can't. I never have a chance to say anything. People tell me things after the fact. I understand that, too.
That's a trauma response, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they're being hinky. They tell you after the fact instead of letting you decide whether or not you want to be a part of it. That ain't cool. After the fact is not okay. And this is some of the things that we do as a society. Oh, what they don't know won't hurt them. Oh, yeah? Then why ain't you telling them if it won't hurt them? Because you know it's going to hurt them. This is some of these things that just drive me crazy, that we as a society are sick. We are literally sick from the things we believe that are good, but it's very destructive. Does that make sense? But yeah, silence can be from not being heard, but if you're not being heard, get the fuck out. That's not a relationship.
Mountain Moon Gypsy, we're actually not doing readings today.
Yeah. But then if you're saying the same thing and not being heard, you also have to look at what you're saying.
Or how you're saying it.
See, I'm not going to get hung up on how you're saying it. I'm not. I mean, there's a difference between anger to try to resolve something and anger to try to piss somebody off. There's a difference. There is.
I'm not saying that there's not. But it all goes back to being heard. And that look of relief when somebody actually feels like they've been heard, for them to be able to know that they've been heard and they can let that trauma go. It's not necessarily about it happened, it's in the past, get over it. It's about it happened, acknowledge that it happened. We don't have to stay in those emotions. We don't have to accept that, even though it's been passed down all this time.
Okay, but how many times have you heard people tell the same story and be heard?
That's because...
And they tell it, and they tell it, and they tell it, and they tell it, and it's the same story over and over again.
There's a disconnect there with them. Because, but in each time that they tell it over and over and over and over again, and they know that they've been heard, it heals a little bit more of that.
Okay, but what is that doing to everybody else listening to that story over and over and over and over again?
That goes into
you're making
their
them
choice.
No, you're making them because
let me finish. Let me finish.
Sure.
It goes into that whole of whether or not you accept it. Even though they're talking about it, it's getting passed on.
What about responsible co-creation?
Hold on. It's getting passed on because that person is listening, but they don't have to accept it. Okay, that happened. I'm sorry that happened. I didn't do it. How can we fix it?
Okay. And then after 15 times of doing this, what is that doing to the other person you're talking to?
Well, that's why people come in and come out of your life. That's exactly why people come in and come out of your life. Because when you're listening to it and you're saying, okay, I'm sorry that happened. I didn't do it. I understand that it happened to you. How can we fix it? If the person doesn't want to fix it, they're not going to fix it. And then that you're on a different vibrational frequency and you part ways. Eventually, they're either going to figure out that they don't have to hold on to it either and raise their vibrational frequency, or they're going to choose to stay on that plateau.
Okay, but again, I'm trying to say, you're making this about the traumatized person.
It's about the energy.
You're making it about the traumatized person and how they feel, but sometimes there's not so traumatized people involved in this too.
And they don't stick around. Those people...
Okay, so what you're saying is it's okay to let people fall in love with you and love you and care about you and go and keep putting them through all this pain and have them walk away from something that could be really good.
Everything in life is a choice. Everything in life is a choice. And not everybody is meant to stay in your life.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you're talking about this kind of trauma thing going on, we're always considering the traumatized, but we're not considering the other people involved in this. That's what I mean. We're hyper-focused on these poor traumatized people that we're not focused at all on what they're doing to other people.
That's where self-love and self-care, self-preservation comes in. That's still those vibrational frequencies.
Okay, so you're telling me that here's this great person, great package all the way around outside of this one thing. Mm-hmm. So you're going to say that because of that one thing that people just ought to give up and just walk away. No, we're going to stay there and we're going to try and work on that one thing for years, even up to 20, even up to 50, even up to 30 years, because there's so much of that great package and there's just this one little thing that what happens is eventually over 20 years, you're going to be traumatized too.
Have you ever heard the saying, sex doesn't make a marriage, but it sure can break a marriage?
No.
I grew up hearing that. Sex don't make a marriage, but it sure can break a marriage. That's that whole, the other person, they're this whole package.
Mhm.
But this one thing will tear a marriage up. It'll tear it to pieces.
And that's what I'm saying is it takes two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we're all concentrating on what that
doesn't...
traumatized person needs. What about the people who are not traumatized? Why are we not focusing on what it's doing to them as well? And that's what gets me. Oh, I'm always supposed to be the bigger person. I'm never supposed to be human because somebody's traumatized. That's not supposed to affect me because I'm supposed to be the bigger person and I'm not supposed to have any kind of emotional response because that person's traumatized. And that's what
Alice,
I'm saying.
Alice.
What?
That's not what I said.
No, that's what I'm trying. That's the point I'm trying to make. You were talking about the trauma.
I'm still talking about, I'm still talking about the trauma, and I'm still talking about those vibrational frequencies. It doesn't matter how long you stay in that vibrational frequency that doesn't work as you're trying to get that person to raise. Eventually, you're gonna say, man, I've tried every way I can.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it anymore. You don't want to acknowledge this. You don't want to let this go. I'm going to have to go for my vibrational frequency. Okay?
But how many people actually do that?
I don't know how many divorces are there in a year.
No, what I'm saying is, why would that be the reason? How many people walk away?
That's an example. That's an example. Because there's so many times that people walk away. Friendships dissipate, and that's that change in that vibrational frequency. That somebody has raised their vibration and somebody has stayed the same.
Well, I get that.
And
I don't even know what I was going to say.
I've lost what I was going to say several times today.
Anyway, the thing is whenever there's trauma involved, whether you're holding on to it or whether you're putting up with it,
mm-hmm.
It's an ongoing process, and everybody is responsible for moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So we can sit here and make excuses out the ass of this and that. But the truth is, it just comes down to you, boo. What are you going to do with it? Because trauma is not self-love. Trauma responses is not self-love.
Understanding yourself enough to realize that it is a trauma response, and then actively making the choice to focus and heal that problem, that is self-love.
Well, the truth is, until you have that self-love,
mm-hmm.
you're not going to see anything else,
mm-hmm.
period.
And you're going to repeat the same cycles, mm-hmm. the same patterns, until you do.
And then what happens when you are traumatized and you meet somebody that actually has self-love? And there's not very many people out there that do. So I'm going to put you guys into my shoes for a minute. Okay? I have a lot of healthy respect and love for myself because I do not lie. I do not cheat. And I do not make a victim of innocence. And people who do, I'm going to kick their asses. Because innocence is the only divine magic. It is the only source of divine magic there is. And I don't care if somebody is 2, 30, or 70. If we are unable to see that innocence, and somebody that is operating from that because of your trauma, what are we doing to those people? What are we doing to those people who are really there with love in their heart, saying, I trust you, I love you, we can do this? What are you doing to those people? There aren't very many people out there like that. that have the ability to say, I'm not traumatized. I see a different perspective.
Mhm.
I see how we can change this. What's going on with this, let's say 9 billion people on the planet, I think it is? What are we doing with this 100,000 people? Would you like me to tell you? You're killing them. Does that make any difference? How you feel about your trauma now? Look at Robin Williams. He was one of them. If we are unable or unwilling to see the goodness and the divinity and fan those flames in other people, when we do see it, what's that saying about you, boo? If you want to make your problems everybody else's, even though they're not, what's that making you? So everybody says, oh yeah, let's see our badness, let's see this. Who's talking about, okay, let's see our goodness?
See, that's where that mirror comes into play, because the mirror shows both the badness and the goodness. And if you can see it in somebody else, it's because you have it in yourself.
And what do I spend my time doing? Telling people how amazing they are, how awesome they are, how it's not, oh no, you can be. No, you're already that. You make the choice not to be by what you believe and what you believe of others. If you don't truly believe that somebody out there can be good, if you don't truly believe that somebody out there can be an actual divine feminine, that's why you never hear me use those words to these fuckheads out here. Oh, he's out here screwing around, third party situation, this divine masculine. Hold up. There ain't nothing divine about that masculine. Not the way he's acting here. Now, is there a possibility of it? Yeah, but I ain't going to call it until I see it. That is not divine action. Sorry. Divines don't do that shit. Because they have respect for themselves. They have respect for their bodies. They understand that this is the temple of spirit. They ain't going to be out there nailing everything they see. That's a trauma response. All right? That's a trauma response. They ain't going to be out there acting a fool. They ain't going to be out there manipulating people. They ain't going to be out there doing all this stuff that all these readers are calling divine feminine and divine masculine. No, you ain't going to hear that come out of my mouth unless I see an upright empress, unless I see high priestess, unless I see an upright emperor, because those are people acting in both. Those I will consider divine. Kings and queens? No, what are kings and queens about? And I say this all the time. What's a queen? Look at me, look how wonderful I am. Look how wonderful I am, look at me. That's a queen. That's a king. Empress energy is, don't look at me, honey. Look at you. Look at you. You can be a king or queen. You know, that's Empress energy. They already know what they are. But you can turn that Empress upside down by that divine feminine. You can turn it upside down. Do you think Robin Williams would have been considered an emperor with his big heart and his beautiful soul? Yeah, well, he got turned upside down and now he's dead. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because the divines are feeling the weight of this shit. And everybody wants to make them the bad guy because they're bringing the truth no one wants to hear. What is it doing to them? Does anybody care? Does anybody care that we are so worried about how we look to other people that we will tear those divines down just so we don't have to face ourselves? Oh, wait, I'm not divine because I did this? No, that's not what I'm saying. You did that. It's back here. What are you going to do with it now? If you keep acting in that energy, hell no, you're not divine. Because you're not acting that way. You're not doing what a divine does, which is bringing the truth of that spirit here and allowing it to form the world. The people that are doing that are taking everything in the world and they're making that them. The divine is not physical. And physical consciousness is not divine consciousness. All right? The only place those two meet is in this gray area. Right here. The 3D and the 4D. This is the only place physical exists. This is the only place that consciousness exists. This is the only place we have to worry about killing each other with our inability to see or allow. So, we're out there allowing everybody room for their trauma, but we are not allowing room for the truly good. And I have a problem with that. Now, the divines are human. Do they make mistakes? Yes. Yes. That's what it's about. Because even they have to grow. And how do we do that? We're unafraid to make mistakes. But we don't live there. We don't keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again. That's a trauma. If we don't do that over and over and over again, and, oh, this happened one time, this happened 2 times, let's figure out why. Because it might not be what you're thinking. Might not be what you're thinking. But that's where communication comes in. But sorry, I had to say that because, as Tina said, I'm always the bad one, but I'm really not. And we can get out there and get onto each other about how bad they are. But if you're unable to sit up there and say, look, man, you got it going on. You're doing the work. Wow, you really are divine. You really are living that divine. But no, we're out there telling all these little assholes that are doing this and that, and we're calling them divines. That's blasphemy. True? So anyway, that's a lot to think about, guys. But I don't want to be a Robin Williams. I'll tell you that right now. And this kind of stuff is driving me crazy. Because people can say what they want to. There's certain people out there that knows things. There's going to be certain people out there that knows things that you don't, that sees things that you don't, because they have accepted that Holy Spirit. They have accepted that first and foremost. And I'm sorry, but you can't say that if you're out there chasing Tom, Dick, and Harry. Or you're out there chasing your pockets. Or you're out there chasing this and that. Okay? That's not what this is about. When you become a divine, the right things come to you for divine reasons. Even if it's bad things. Because let me tell you what. Spirit gives you marching orders to kick some ass. What are you going to do? Sit there and go, I don't want to. Everybody's going to hate me. I don't want to. And still call yourself divine?
Isn't that why Jonah ended up in the belly?
Because he didn't listen to Spirit? Yeah. And he listened to everybody else? Yeah. It is. But anyway, guys, anything else anybody want to talk about?
Yes.
What?
1618 said, Alice, I love your pants.
Oh, thank you. I like it. It's my 90s. I'm still in my 90s, guys. Where is 1618? Oh,
TikTok.
it's on TikTok. Hi, guys.
Which is why
I think
brought it out.
1618, isn't he a... Didn't I make him into a...
Moderator?
Yeah. Or her? Or, I don't remember. A hell of a good spirit. That's all I know. It's hard for me to keep people straight. It really is. So is there anything anybody wants to talk about? Any kind of any kind of thing that's on your mind that's really bugging you that we can sit here and talk about, and maybe some good might come out of this co-creation, or not just, us up here on the soapbox. Is that Aeroline up there? Let's see. I'm machine. Yes, you did. Yes, 16. Oh, that was 1618. Okay. Okay, there we go. So if there's anything anybody wants to talk about, get off your chest. Get it. Possibly we can get a new perspective on right here, right now. That's what Coffee Talks is about.
Work made me feel used today and it was upsetting. Any advice?
Sure. Okay. Here's the thing about work, okay? I don't care what I'm doing. I'm going to find a reason to love it. I am. I'm going to find a reason to love it. And that's one of the reasons why, I mean, we don't see work, and this is perspective. That's why they call it work. It's not supposed to be fun, right? Who says? Because I guarantee you, a nice, fun work environment is going to be more productive than one that nobody wants to go into. So what I would do, who asked that question?
1618.
1618. So what I would do, 1618, is first off, when I get up in the morning, I would think about what really bugs me about work. And then I would think, okay, what is it that... And I would come and bring the exact opposite of that energy that you want to fix. Like everybody came in, I worked at a bakery, everybody came in grumpy at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, by 3:05, they were pissed at me because I'm like, good morning! And everybody's like, but let me tell you what happened. When we got out on that floor, that energy made a difference. Everybody wasn't all grouchy and stuff like that, make it into a challenge. Oh, okay, so we're supposed to have this much produced. I say we do 500 more. Yeah, they want to say we're lazy fucks. Is that what management want to do? Yeah, well, let's give it to them. Fuck them. That's what you do. You change the dynamic. You figure out how to change the dynamic. And you be that change, sweetheart. And you learn how to enjoy what you're doing, regardless of what everybody else is doing. And that's what I did. Everybody could have their attitude. Alice is going to stay the same. As a matter of fact, my managers there, I used to get so pissed at them. I did. And I'd let them know it because I'm me. And they're like, well, if you feel that way, how come you come here and you still work so hard and you do such a good job if that's the way you feel? And I said, look, I came into this job and I agreed to do it. For what I agreed to do it for. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to make your shittiness curb my awesome. Because then you win. And that's what you're trying to do here. Instead of making it an overall good situation for everyone, you're trying to win. Why else would I be coming in here and giving it my all? Because that's what I agreed to do. Why are you not giving me my goodness for the reason it's there? They couldn't argue with me. Does that make sense? So, what you need to do, 16, 18, is you need to bring that beautiful you in full force. That's what
it does.
That's what you need to do. If you don't like it, you have the power to fucking change it. You do. And that's my biggest message. If you don't like it, change it. And if you can't change it, well, you can change it by changing what you're doing. If it's a sick environment and you're letting it make you sick, you need to change. Well, first of all, you need to get back to you and it'll change the environment. That's the thing. And if it doesn't change the environment, then it's really sick and it's going to end up killing you and you need to go away. One or the other, you know.
She said, thank you, Alice. Very true.
You're welcome, Ladybug. All right. Any more questions? Did you have any ideas on that? You've been managers in situations like that.
I ended up quitting all of those jobs.
Oh.
Yep.
And most of them I said, you need to quit. No, I gotta pay the bills. I gotta pay the bills. No, you need to do this. This will pay the bills. We just gotta do this. Quit that. But, that's again stuck in the idea. What do you really want to do, 16, 18? That's what I'd want to ask you is what do you really want to do?
See, that was where I went.
There you go.
Because my very first thought was quit.
Mm-hmm. But that's not really using that spirit within you to help.
It's not always feasible. I mean,
right.
Things transition more often than not. If you don't like your job, find something that you do like. You can change jobs. You can change your attitude. You can change jobs. You can find something that you like to do as a hobby that other people enjoy and start doing that. And then eventually your hobby will become your source of income. Notice I didn't say job, because a job is a job, a just over broke. It's something that is in the matrix that tells you how you do this, you get this. Program. It's not going to be enough, but you're not going to be able to quit because you need it to be able to sustain a subpar life. So you can't quit, but what you can do in your spare time is find something that you do enjoy and do it until it becomes something that you can get rid of this job and do something that you love. Because if you're doing something that you love, it's not work. It comes naturally.
And I always say about the only time I feel alive is when I'm talking to you guys. True story. This is what I love. I wish I could do it more. But it's pretty taxing. It is. It's pretty tiring. Talking a lot. Putting yourself out there. It's scary too because, there's a lot of people out there. They can be mean.
She said, I know that's not where my heart is. I'm going for neuropsych to work with dementia patients.
Ooh.
That's fantastic.
Dementia is a big thing to tackle, and I am so into coconut oil for that. They've been studying that now at least 10 years that I know of, and very few people have heard about it. The benefits of coconut oil when it comes to dementia or Alzheimer's or anything. Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Or any other questions? Because if not, we're going to end it here. This is Saturday, right?
Yes.
I saw 1618 say something.
It feels like that is truly where my heart is. I hadn't heard of that, but I will look into it.
Yeah, look it up. Well, the only reason I heard of it again is because of the blessing of being a part of, well, not really being a part of, on the outskirts I was, I guess, the whole University of Wisconsin-Madison group. Because medical, wow, they do cutting edge medical. As a matter of fact, that's who Michael J. Fox works with his Parkinson's because of their cutting edge. And I got to read a lot of different cutting edge medical things that they were working, like the cochlear implants, when they were doing that. Before they even started, I got to read all the specifics on it, and possibilities. And that's why when COVID came around, I sat back and I said, this is not the way things are done, because I had the opportunity to see it. And here's the thing, most people didn't know. Most people don't know. They don't know how things are done. They just take somebody's word for it. We need to quit doing that. And just because Google says it doesn't mean it's true. Okay? A lot of things that you look up on Google, you aren't going to find the truth through. They're going to show you exactly what they want you to see. Like, did you know you can make hydrochloroquine at home? No? Guess what? Did you know you can make antibiotics at home? Some of the strongest ones on the planet
Come from the plant.
Get it from your backyard, man. Get it from your herb shelf. Do you know how many herbs that you use for your food are actually healing? And what's the first thing that happens when you start on those pills?
They tell you not to take certain things.
They tell you not to eat spices and herbs, because that'll actually cure you instead of masking the symptoms like the pills do. So, like I said, just because you read it on Google doesn't make it so. Just because, use your intuition, guys. Okay? Realize that there's a lot of sources out there on Google. Make sure there's sources that are trustworthy. Because anybody can put anything on the internet. Doesn't make it true.
And make sure that you check multiple sources.
Yes. Yes. So, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think I'm all talked out.
I think that this is stuff that we really have to talk about and think about, especially with the children in the world today. It's not like, this isn't really about us anymore. We're grown fucking adults still acting like 2 years old. What are we doing to our kids by letting this continue? What are we doing to our next generations by not being able to get a hold of ourselves? What are we doing to our next generations by living from jealousy and cattiness and pain instead of fanning the flames of greatness? That's should be the next coffee talk. What are we doing to our children, man?
Kind of think we talked about that today.
Well, we kind of hit on it. But we haven't gone into the way the mind of a child is programmed so totally different than ours. And we never actually sit and let our kids teach us. We always think it's our responsible to teach these kids what's right. Well, we don't even know what's fucking right ourselves, obviously. I would like to learn how to allow our children to teach us and what we need to learn from them. What do you think?
Well, I know that my grandchild has taught me a whole lot in the short time it's been here.
Your grandchild has taught me a whole lot in the short time I've been here. So, yeah, I could see that. Her grandchild is a handful. But then what kid is it? And that's why I hate this ADHD and all these kids are naturally energetic. Their mind is naturally going like this. We're the ones that can't keep up. So. Sometimes. Some of us can because we're adults that apparently have ADHD. Dawn came in and looked at me one time and I was watching two things and doing something else and she's like, "You have ADHD." Excuse me? What? I have what? Well, that's a sign of ADHD. Oh, okay.
The constant need for weed to slow your mind down so that you can talk to people.
But here's the thing. I'm not smoking weed now. It's not a need. It's what weed does to me.
It's a coping mechanism.
Oh, definitely. Because I don't want to end up like Robin Williams.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm okay.
But it's one of the healing coping mechanisms instead of alcohol or
it can be
silence.
It can be.
Because it doesn't change your personality. All it does is relax you.
Mm-hmm.
To where you're not in that anxious, uptight state. And you can actually think better.
I'm not judging anything. I'm not saying anything one way or another. But it's a coping mechanism.
Oh, yeah.
In order to be able to deal with certain things.
So is that.
Yes, it is. That's nicotine.
Yeah.
Yes. We have all kinds of coping mechanisms. Some people use alcohol. Some people use drugs. Some people spend money. Some people, they're all coping mechanisms to get through whatever it is that we're trying to get through.
Now, alcohol, nicotine's not so bad. It doesn't change your personality. Alcohol, that's a different story. Hard drugs, that's a different story. Coffee, that's my coping mechanism. Doesn't really hurt anybody. It just makes me have to pee a lot.
One of them.
So we all have coping mechanisms. Some of them are very, very traumatizing, not only to yourself, but everybody else. That's not a coping mechanism. That's a destruction method. Weed, nicotine, coffee, I can see that as a coping mechanism because it does not change your personality. It doesn't cause you to be anybody other than who you normally are.
Not necessarily. Caffeine can do all kinds of things. Give you a headache. How many times do you or me need a cup of coffee before you can face something?
Actually,
it changes your personality in order that you can, and it's an addiction. And we don't even realize how bad of an addiction it is because sugar and caffeine are the two highest addictions in the United States.
Right.
People can't function without them. And I've seen it progress drastically over the years with the introduction of energy drinks and coffee shots and
Food is not even
etc.
food. I mean, if we get into all of that, I mean that's not even food. Nobody should be consuming what they're calling food in America these days. I'm sorry, but I mean, yeah, you can. But it still doesn't change your personality. I mean, it doesn't me. I love my coffee, but tell me that I have to have it as soon as I get up to function. Tell me that I cannot hit the ground running without this cup of coffee.
You prefer it.
I prefer it.
But you can get up and hit the ground running. But shortly after that, you need coffee.
Well, when I have time to think about it, but I don't need coffee to change my perspective. I mean, it doesn't change my personality. If I have to get up and hit the ground running, I'm going to get up and hit the ground running. I'm not going to say, oh, I need a cup of coffee first. I can't do this. Live age restricted. What? Themes not suitable for younger. Whatever. See, this is why I hate these. Okay. I'm pretty sure that when I set it up, it was for age restriction. And what kind of things are we talking about? Did something, see, digital Diablos, okay, because I set everything up to be age restricted because I have a dirty mouth. So I don't even know. Are we still on there? I don't know what that was about. TikTok. TikTok. You and me gonna talk. You're gonna end up hating me, just like Facebook, just like YouTube, because I tell too much truth. And you have no business trying to control my business. All right? My business, my options, my creation, not yours. You don't control me. You don't control my business. You don't control what I do. And if you think you do, guess what? I'm going to teach you different and you're going to hate it. So, you guys, with that being said, you can tell why I'm shadow banned on all these platforms. So, share the hell out of me, okay? Let's really give them something to talk about. This is how we take our power back from these entities. We don't let them get away with it. We don't sit down and shut up. That's how change happens. But anyway, with that being said, guys, we've been on here now for 2.5 hours. I think that's enough. So, we love you. Blessed be.
Be blessed.
Namaste. Catch you next time. Too many computers. My computer's messing with me now. Still hasn't ended.
Yes.
No, it hasn't. It's still up there. Hasn't ended.